I don't even want to be here right now, to be honest with you. But come on, let's get this shit over with before I change my mind. This is Shogun episode 8, Abyss of Life. This episode opens with Nagakato's body being transported for his funeral. Toranaga is disheveled. I've never seen this man look this way. He's made himself sick. He can barely sit up to ride his horse properly. While Yabushige is having his assistant take notes on how embarrassing Nagakato's death was. He tells him to rank it less than being boiled alive, but higher than being eaten by a dog. Mariko explains to Blackthorn that Seiki's men who are following behind them will camp out elsewhere and wait the customary 49 days for Toranaga to mourn before they deliver them to Osaka. She also takes this time to inform Blackthorn that he's no longer required to be in service to Toranaga, handing over his rudders and letting him know that his men are in the city. Blackthorn tries to convince Mariko not to go to Osaka, but she only reaffirms her loyalty. In the next scene, we see Ishido once again following behind Lady Ochiba like a creep. Like, is this customary? Like, is that the rules? He's supposed to follow behind her like that, or is he just a creep? Either way, he gives off I don't get hose vibes. I don't like it. Anyway, he's complimenting her once again on her strategy to get Toranaga to surrender. And then he suggests they strengthen their alliance by getting married. Her face immediately says, ew. It was even hard for me to hold back. There was a little vomit right in here in that moment, but she and I both got through it, and he offers her time to consider it. Next, we see Toranaga's men gathered around a mill sharing stories about Nagakato. Hirumatsu says that although Nagakato was courageous, he was reckless, and that his death was an embarrassment. Just then, Omi jumps in to defend Nagakato, stating that he only made that decision in response to Toranaga surrendering, which kind of made me think Omi might be in on this, because it seems like he was trying to excite the other men to feel the same way Nagakato felt. And I don't know, just thinking about Toranaga and how he admires the fact that Omi can sway people. He has this ability to plant like ideas in people's heads. Maybe he's using Omi to plant ideas in people, but who knows? We'll see. In the next scene, we're at Nagakato's funeral, which Toranaga is noticeably absent from. Hirumatsu claims it's because he's sick, and he informs Yabushige that he's going to be returning to Osaka alone to surrender their guns and cannon. Next, we see Mariko sitting with Lady Rin, and she's holding Toranaga's brand new baby granddaughter, and she finds out that he's yet to visit. I'm not sure what that means, if it means anything at all. Lady Rin informs Mariko that her sister, Lady Ochiba, promised to spare her family after Toranaga is turned in. Buntaro comes in and tells Mariko that with everything that's going on, he would like to prepare tea for her, and she accepts. Father Alvito comes to Ito to meet with Toranaga and explain to him that they were unsuccessful in swaying Ono and Kiyama to his side, but that he hasn't given up on Toranaga and suggests that he tries to align himself with Lady Ochiba. Hirumatsu agrees and tries to convince Toranaga of the same, but Toranaga asks Mariko, since she knows Lady Ochiba, what she thinks the chances are of Lady Ochiba wanting to align with him. Mariko doesn't directly answer the question, and instead she just says she doesn't believe that Toranaga is her enemy, but that fear is Ochiba's enemy, and Toranaga takes that to mean there's no way in hell. Hirumatsu urges Toranaga to reconsider, but Toranaga shuts him down, demanding that he gather all his vassals and have them sign the pledge to surrender. Once outside, Hirumatsu suspects Toranaga is up to something and tells Yabushige, along with the other men, that he believes Toranaga plans to fight. Mariko joins her husband for tea. Buntaro performs a very beautiful matcha ceremony. This was one of my favorite scenes in this episode. Mariko compliments Buntaro on his performance, and he takes that as, oh, this is bonding time. Let's reminisce about the past. But unfortunately, their pasts don't match at all. He remarks about the early days of their marriage and says that they were happy. Mariko says she don't remember none of that. Who was happy? When? And where? He asks if she's still under Blackthorn's spell. She gives no answer. Appearing pretty broken at this point, Buntaro asks Mariko to go to their deaths together tonight in protest of Toranaga's decision. He is finally granting her death. This scene made me so uneasy. Like, where is his mind? She fucking hates you. Like, what's not clicking, bro? Like, why set yourself up like this? You think she's randomly gonna fall in love with you in the last moments of her life? Absolutely not. You know what? Just watch her response, because I can't with this man.
私はお前様とかように死するくらいなら、1000年生かされた方がましでござりまする。
I really be feeling sorry for Buntaro. I don't know if he's coded as being on somebody's spectrum or something, but the young man can't read a room, which makes him being rejected that much more painful to watch. Blackthorn is taken to see his men, and before one of them sees him, he attempts to turn away. But Solomon sees him and calls him out. Blackthorn explains his plan to get back on the ship, but Solomon protests and snaps on him, accusing him of being selfish and the reason for their misfortune. They get into a fight, and Blackthorn beats the crap out of this man. He definitely went a little bit too hard, in my opinion, but I think it's just this pent-up aggression over not being able to fight a number of these Japanese men that have had him by the balls this entire time. In the next scene, we see Blackthorn coming to Yabushige, asking if he can sail for him under his banner. Yabushige, in front of Omi, refuses, saying that this would be treason. Blackthorn gives this moving dialogue about taking one's life into their own hands, and recounts watching Yabushige falling from the cliff into the water on that day. And you can tell his words really resonate with Yabushige. He definitely wants to be on what Blackthorn is on. But there's no way he can admit that in front of Mariko or Omi. Finally, we get to see Jin bask in the joy of seeing the land that was set aside for her in Edo. Kiku is there taking pride in her mistress's accomplishment. Omi, for some reason, is there hating on Jin and trying to plant like seeds of jealousy or competition in Kiku towards Jin. But Omi fails to realize what a big deal this is for women like Kiku and Jin. They don't have the same privileges he has, and Kiku's loyalty is paying off in a very big way for her. There's no inclination that Jin doesn't treat Kiku well. That moment in episode, what was it, either 6 or 7? Jin saying that Blackthorn had his eyes on someone else, throwing Mariko under the bus, was her protecting her girl's reputation. Kiku is her golden goose, and she don't seem to play about her. Father Alvido arrives to see the land that's been set aside for him in Edo for their church, and he's informed that Jin is going to be his neighbor. And he realizes that, you know, they're courtesans, so he gonna have his church right next to the whorehouse. And I love that for him. He's a lucky man. We know all them people trifling anyway. Like, Lord, they was gonna find their way to the brothel anyway. And now it's just easier for them. It's right next door. You was gonna pop up there anyway. Okay? So Lady Io suffers a stroke, and Lady Ochiba rushes to her side. Lady Io, once again, tries to convince Ochiba to see reason and promise to release the hostages. And she also tells Ochiba, look, Ishido comes from nothing, and he's always going to be nothing. All of Toranaga's men gather to give their signatures for surrender, as he tells them that he's sending Yabushige to Osaka to surrender their weapons. As the signatures are being collected, a few of his men refuse, claiming they believe this is some sort of ploy. Which it so obviously is, goddammit. I don't know why this man is taking this shit this far. This scene pissed me off so bad. I saw exactly where it was headed, and I said in that moment, if what I think is about to happen happens, I'll never watch another episode. Shit, this scene got me hot. I don't even want to talk about it. I need a minute. So my most favorite, most adorable old man in the entire world, grandfather to my favorite character, and unfortunately Toranaga's right-hand man, Hirumatsu, catches one of the vassals who is in protest reach for his sword. And as much as Hirumatsu loved reaching for his sword, he knew exactly what time it was. And instead of letting this random vassal start some shit, he decides to start some shit. He turns to Toranaga and demands he commit seppuku. I think this was his attempt to expose the fact that Toranaga has zero intention on dying. If he was so hell-bent on letting this battle be done and surrender, the punishment is death, so why not kill yourself and spare your men? But he's not about to do that. He just wants this to look as convincing as possible, and allowing his men to protest and possibly getting themselves killed would definitely convince everyone of that. One of his men interrupts, getting ready to dig himself a nice little grave. But goddamn Hirumatsu. Hirumatsu tells him to shut up and leave this between himself and Toranaga's bitch ass. He reminds Toranaga of how long they've been friends and that he's throwing away everything that they've worked towards. But Toranaga just asks him to die with him in Osaka. But Hirumatsu isn't backing down. Toranaga says his decision has been made and that it's time for Hirumatsu to make his. They exchange this long and intense eye contact. It's as if they can read each other's thoughts. Hirumatsu breaks the silence and declares that Toranaga's vassals die in vain. And to that, he replies, Omi, I'm Omi, pleads for the two of them to stop, but both men are standing on business. Dumbass business. But business. And fucking Buntaro. He's having the worst episode ever. Like, fuck, bro. Hirumatsu instructs Buntaro to grab his sword and be his second. While preparing to cut his own father's head off, he announces he will be following his father in death. But Hirumatsu demands he live so he can see what it feels like to be denied death. Just another dagger in Buntaro's heart, y'all. Goddamn. Hirumatsu readies himself to commit seppuku, and you hear another man shout out to stop this, calling this madness, which it is. It definitely is. But Hirumatsu plunges his dagger into his side, slicing across his stomach after asking for forgiveness. Toranaga is just absolutely gutted by the look on his face. He is forced to watch the only friend that he's ever had and probably loved in order to keep up whatever bullshit he's pulling. Buntaro eventually ends his father's suffering by taking his head. Omi is over in the corner, shook up, holding himself, rocking back and forth, traumatized like a little child. And again, I'm Omi. I'm traumatized. I officially hate this fucking show. And you know, the markings of a good writer is that they can get you so invested that you will have an emotional reaction to it. And they definitely did that. They were successful. But that don't mean I gotta like you for being good at your job. And I don't. So don't be at no conventions or nothing that I be at. Okay? Because if I see you, it's on site. And I know what at least 3 of them writers look like. So, good luck! So the next scene between Mariko and Toranaga is what makes me believe Toranaga wanted all of this to happen, and Mariko was aware this whole time. It seems Toranaga wanted Yabushige and Blackthorn to link up, and having one of his men die in front of him would be the catalyst to get Yabushige to accept Blackthorn's offer. He definitely didn't want it to be Hirumatsu. He was hoping it would be one of those other men, but Hirumatsu said, to hell with that. Toranaga never plainly states that Hirumatsu committed seppuku. When Mariko tells him Yabushige turned Blackthorn down, Toranaga says that will change and that Hirumatsu made sure of it. And Mariko knew immediately that meant Hirumatsu was dead, which tells me this was all an expected part of the plan, minus it being Hirumatsu. Then they have this exchange.
そなたは己の務めを果たす覚悟ができておるか?
Who's she about to go kill? Bet not be my bitch. I'll turn against Mariko so fast. In the next scene, we see that Lady Io has died, and Lady Ochiba goes before Ishido and bows. He has this huge smirk on his face. I take that to mean that she's saying yes to the dress, but I'm still holding out hope that she's gonna kill his ass. But yeah. Then we see Yabushige, Blackthorn, and Omi on a ship, which I'm assuming is Blackthorn's ship. Omi is expressing his disappointment in his uncle deciding to align with Blackthorn. But Yabushige ain't about this life no more. He's about to do what he needs to do. Period. Omi tells him goodbye, and he goes on his little way. Yabushige goes to Blackthorn and tries to tell him that the words that he spoke earlier meant a great deal to him. But Blackthorn can't understand a damn thing that he's saying, which had me like, so, okay, how the hell is this gonna work out? But just then, a boat approaches, and who is conveniently on that boat? Mariko-sama. She tells them that Toranaga has requested she join them on their little journey to Osaka. They don't look too enthusiastic about it. But again, they weren't going to be able to plot and scheme anyway, because they don't speak the same language, so they're going to have to figure out how to make that work. Maybe speak in code through Mariko? I don't know. Toranaga goes out to the area where his son was burned, and he thanks him for buying him more time, stating that he will not waste it. And this is how episode 8 comes to an end. Y'all already know what I'm about to say. Fuck Toranaga. This episode got me so hot. This might really be the end of these Shogun reviews, y'all. Y'all gonna have to really come through on the new show recommendations and the movie recommendations, because the way they took out my boy, not my favorite character, Granddaddy. What the fuck do my girl got left? You know? Her son died. I don't know if she gave a fuck about her husband. I just assume none of these women like their husbands, you know what I mean? Because they're all technically their masters. What slave loves their master? None. But yeah, fuck this episode. I ain't got nothing to say, really. I'm about to go get high. I gave up smoking. But this episode stressed me out so bad, y'all. I'm really at a loss for words. I ain't got shit to say. Y'all might see me in the next one. I don't know. Bye.
Shogun.